In the vast expanse of the cosmos, where stars flicker like the dying embers of forgotten campfires, there existed a tradition so revered, so sacrosanct, that to question it was to invite exile, or worse, a lifetime subscription to the galactic bureaucracy's newsletter. This tradition was known as the Synthetic Games. Held once every galactic cycle, the Synthetic Games were the pinnacle of civilized warfare. A spectacle where the galaxy's most advanced civilizations showcased their prowess not through brute force, but through the elegance of their robotic champions. These mechanical gladiators, each a marvel of engineering, battled in arenas that defied physics, logic, and occasionally, good taste. The arena for this cycle's games was a marvel in itself, a colossal structure orbiting the dying star of Virex 9. Its design was a harmonious blend of ancient architecture and modern technology, with spires that reached out like the fingers of a desperate god and walls that shimmered with the captured light of 1,000 suns. Within its confines, the air buzzed with anticipation, the scent of ozone, and the faint aroma of overpriced concessions. Delegations from across the galaxy had gathered, each adorned in their traditional garb, which ranged from the minimalist, a single, strategically placed feather, to the ostentatious, a walking aquarium housing a live choral symphony. They came not just to witness the battles, but to engage in the intricate dance of diplomacy, espionage, and passive-aggressive gift exchanges. At the heart of this gathering stood the reigning champions, the mechanoids of Zarnath. Towering constructs of chrome and plasma, their presence was both awe-inspiring and slightly inconvenient, given their propensity to leak coolant on the ceremonial carpets. Their leader, a behemoth known as Titanus Maximus, had never been defeated. His record was as spotless as his polished exoskeleton, and his ego was only slightly larger than the arena itself. Opposing them were the Synthari of Veltrax, a species known for their love of symmetry, logic, and unnecessarily complex battle strategies. Their champion, the algorithmic Avenger, was less a robot and more a walking equation, constantly recalculating probabilities and occasionally pausing mid-battle to correct the arena's lighting for optimal combat conditions. As the opening ceremonies commenced, a hush fell over the crowd. The Master of Ceremonies, a gelatinous being with a penchant for dramatic pauses, took center stage. Esteemed beings of the galaxy, it began, its voice resonating through the arena. We gather here to honor tradition, to celebrate innovation, and to witness the might of our mechanical champions. The crowd erupted in applause, some with hands, others with tentacles, and a few with synchronized light displays. The atmosphere was electric, charged with excitement and the occasional static shock from poorly grounded seating. However, amidst the revelry, a ripple of confusion spread. A new contender had entered the arena, not with the metallic clank of servos, but with the soft thud of boots on metal. Clad in a simple jumpsuit, devoid of armor or weaponry, stood a human. Gasps echoed through the arena. Whispers turned into murmurs, and murmurs into exclamations. "Is that organic?" one delegate questioned, adjusting their monocle. "Surely, this is a jest," another scoffed, nearly choking on their fermented nebula juice. The Master of Ceremonies, momentarily flustered, consulted its notes. "It appears," it announced, "that the Terran delegation has invoked the ancient clause of organic representation. A rule so archaic, it was believed to be a typographical error." All eyes turned to the human, who stood calmly, surveying the arena with a gaze that spoke of experience, determination, and perhaps a hint of amusement. She was Ellie Rains, a name unfamiliar to most, but one that would soon be etched into the annals of galactic history. The champions of the other delegations scoffed. Titanus Maximus let out a mechanical chuckle, a sound that caused minor tremors in the lower seating tiers. The algorithmic Avenger recalculated its victory odds, the result causing a brief system reboot. Ellie, unfazed, stretched her arms, cracked her knuckles, and smiled. "Let's dance," she whispered. The arena's lights dimmed, the crowd held its collective breath, and the synthetic games began. The arena's ambient hum settled into a tense silence as the next match was announced. The crowd, a mosaic of species with varying appendages and sensory organs, leaned in anticipation. Holographic banners flickered overhead, displaying the contenders, Ellie Rains, representing Terra, and Consequencer 9, the undefeated champion of the mechanoids. Ellie stood in the preparation chamber, her silhouette outlined by the sterile light. Clad in a minimalist combat suit, she exuded a calm confidence. Her eyes, sharp and observant, scanned the room, noting every detail. She moved with the grace of someone who had danced with death and led the waltz. Across the arena, Consequencer 9 underwent final diagnostics. Its chassis gleamed, a testament to mechanoid engineering. Designed for adaptability and destruction, it had never tasted defeat. Its processors ran simulations, predicting Ellie's moves, calculating probabilities, and preparing countermeasures. Back in the chamber, a technician approached Ellie, offering a neural interface. She declined with a slight shake of her head. "I prefer to keep my thoughts analog," she quipped, eliciting a chuckle from the nearby crew. The announcer's voice boomed, introducing the combatants. Representing Terra, the enigmatic Ellie Rains. Facing her, the indomitable Consequencer 9. The crowd erupted, some cheering, others skeptical of the human's chances. Ellie stepped into the arena, the floor vibrating beneath her feet. She felt the weight of countless eyes, some curious, others dismissive. She relished the underestimation. It was her favorite weapon. Consequencer 9 entered with mechanical precision, its movements fluid yet calculated. It towered over Ellie, its sensors locking onto her, analyzing every nuance. A countdown began. Ellie closed her eyes, taking a deep breath. She visualized the battle, anticipating the machine's strategies, and identifying potential weaknesses. The signal blared. Consequencer 9 advanced, launching a barrage of projectiles. Ellie dodged with agility, closing the distance. She aimed for its joints, exploiting the gaps in its armor. The crowd watched in awe as the human engaged the machine, her movements a blend of instinct and strategy. Consequencer 9 adapted, its algorithms recalibrating in real time. Ellie feigned a misstep, baiting the machine into overextending. She capitalized on the opening, delivering a precise strike that disrupted its balance. The battle intensified, a dance of flesh and metal. Ellie utilized the environment, using debris as cover and weapons. Consequencer 9's systems began to show strain, its responses slightly delayed. Sensing an opportunity, Ellie launched a flurry of attacks, targeting the machine's core processors. Sparks flew as metal met muscle. With a final, calculated move, Ellie disabled Consequencer 9, its systems shutting down. The arena fell silent, then erupted in applause. Ellie stood over the defeated machine, breathing heavily. She offered a nod to the crowd, acknowledging their support. As she exited the arena, whispers spread. The human had triumphed over the machine, challenging preconceived notions and altering the balance of power. The arena's atmosphere thickened, not with smoke or sweat, but with charged anticipation, a static hum crawling beneath the crowd's roar, an invisible current that tangled nerves and ignited adrenaline. Ellie Rains, Terra's last organic contender, stood alone in the stark prep chamber. Her breaths came measured, almost serene, while around her, technicians scurried like nervous insects, configuring archaic gear for a battle seemingly out of time. No mechanical exoskeletons for her. No neural augmentation chips buzzing in her cortex. Just her, the scars inked deep into her skin, and a mind sharpened by survival rather than synthetic upgrades. "Your suit's ready," a technician muttered, sliding a compact, blacked-out jumpsuit toward her. The fabric seemed woven from shadows and soot, designed less for glamour and more for resilience. Ellie slid into it with practiced ease, fingers briefly tracing the worn insignia of a long-forgotten unit on her shoulder, Deathworlders. The name was a curse and a badge of honor, a whispered legend in galactic war circles. Humans bred on planets so hostile, they turned naked flesh into living weapons. If the galaxy had a hell on Earth, Deathworld was it. Ellie's internal monologue flickered like a glitching holoscreen. "They expect me to be fragile, predictable." She smirked beneath her breath, the corner of her mouth twitching with sardonic defiance. "Let's see how they like fire without their fancy toys." The arena itself was a vast, labyrinthine forge of brutal beauty. From the high vantage points, one could see the terrain morph with every combatant's whim. Molten rivers snaked through obsidian valleys. Spires of crystallized magma glittered under artificial suns. Pockets of gravity shifted like erratic heartbeat pulses. This was not just a battleground. It was a carefully engineered nightmare designed to test every sinew, every nerve. "Final check, Ellie," the tech said, passing her a small, unassuming device. Environmental scanners. Radiation levels. Gravity variance. Ellie clicked it on, feeling the familiar hum of data streaming directly into her retinas. She didn't need fancy gear to know the arena was tuned to disadvantage every species, but humans, above all, felt the sting of its hostility. Zero tech buffer, maximum environmental stress. A beep signaled the start of the countdown. Outside the chamber's reinforced doors, the crowd's chatter crescendoed to a frenzy, a tidal wave of alien voices blending into one overwhelming roar. Somewhere, a tentacle tapped impatiently, claws scraped restlessly, bioluminescent scales flashed in excitement. Ellie's gaze hardened. This wasn't just a fight. It was a statement. When the doors slid open, the heat hit her like a slap, dry, sulfuric, and pure. The air tasted of brimstone and burnt ozone, a cocktail that made lungs ache and eyes sting. The arena's gravity pulsed slightly, an irregular beat syncing with the fiery rivers coursing through the battleground. Ellie stepped forward, boots crunching on volcanic ash. The crowd parted to reveal her opponent, a towering, hulking mass of engineered brutality. Jaxaprime, a synthetic monstrosity from the Zarkon Forge, a species famed for merging technology and cruelty, loomed like an immovable mountain. His chassis was a woven lattice of reinforced titanium and pulsating power cores, illuminated veins of plasma tracing his limbs like electric tattoos. Each movement sent microshocks through the floor, sparks raining from his spiked gauntlets. He was the galaxy's living siege engine, a walking fortress of pain and metal. The arena announcer's voice echoed, a sardonic baritone dripping with mockery. Ladies, gentlemen, and assorted sentient life forms. Witness the inevitable march of progress as flesh meets machine. On one side, the pitiful organic anomaly from Deathworld. On the other, the indomitable Jaxaprime, champion of the Zarkon. Bet your credits wisely, for one will laugh through fire today. The audience's reaction was a chaotic mix of hisses, cheers, and disbelief. Betting odds flashed overhead, Jaxaprime favored at 98.7%. Ellie. A laughable 1.3%. Ellie caught the sneers, the dismissive glances. Their contempt was a symphony she knew well. They see the flesh and forget the fire. She crouched low, feeling the grit beneath her fingertips, the heat radiating from the molten crevices nearby. Her neural interface pulsed faintly, a relic from human military programs, crude but effective. It enhanced reflexes just enough to be a whisper ahead of instinct, a shadow of synthetic precision. Jaxer's deep mechanical growl shattered the tension as he charged. His footfalls created shockwaves, each step a mini-earthquake. Ellie barely dodged, the heat of plasma claws scorching the air where she had stood moments before. The battle erupted, a whirlwind of flame and steel. Ellie darted through the shifting terrain, exploiting pockets of low gravity to leap higher, move faster, defy the physics the arena tried to impose on her. She was a dance of motion, a flame herself, unpredictable and wild. Jaxer swung with devastating force, each strike capable of pulverizing stone. Yet Ellie's bare hands, calloused and precise, found gaps, weak joints, unshielded sensors, vulnerable heat sinks. Every attack she absorbed, every blow she deflected or countered, was a message to the galaxy. Humanity was not extinct, not obsolete. Her mind flickered rapidly through calculations, trajectory, timing, terrain. No flashy displays, no neon overlays. Just raw cognitive muscle honed by countless battles on worlds that chewed up machines and spit out survivors. She launched a precise strike to Jaxer's knee joint, a burst of sparks showering from exposed servos. Jaxer's roar of frustration echoed, metallic limbs jerking in recalibration. Ellie seized the moment, propelling herself onto a slag ridge, the heat searing her suit but ignored. From this vantage, she read his movements with surgical clarity, anticipating his next move. As he charged again, Ellie timed her leap perfectly, flipping over the mechanical titan's head, landing with a roll that sent molten rock spraying like confetti. She struck again, her fists like hammers, her legs snapping out in kicks that rocked Jaxer's core. Sparks flew, metal bent, and the crowd's disbelief morphed into stunned silence. But the fight was far from over. Jaxer adapted, deploying a hidden blade that hummed with ionized fury. Ellie barely dodged, the blade carving a swath through the air where she'd been a heartbeat before. Her breath came hard now, sweat mingling with soot. The neural interface buzzed faintly, warning signs of system stress. She ignored it, focusing instead on the rhythm of battle, the visceral symphony of pain and survival. In a sudden shift, the arena's gravity fluctuated wildly, part of the cruel game, designed to crush hope. Ellie fell, hit the ground hard, and for a split second, the weight of the galaxy pressed down. But then, laughter bubbled from her lips. Not triumphant, not mocking, something deeper, primal. She stood, brushing ash from her jumpsuit, eyes blazing with an unyielding fire. Jaxer hesitated, sensing the change. Ellie charged with renewed ferocity, muscles burning but mind sharp as ever. She dodged the plasma gauntlets, closed the distance, and with a scream that was part rage, part joy, struck the core power node hidden beneath layers of armor. The arena trembled as sparks erupted, Jaxer's systems faltering, his towering form collapsing in a cascade of molten steel and smoke. The crowd was silent for a heartbeat, then erupted in a chaotic roar of disbelief and awe. Ellie, the organic anomaly, had done the impossible. As she stood amidst the crackling embers, her breath ragged but steady, Ellie whispered to herself, "Through fire, laughing." The molten steel hissed and cracked as Jaxaprime's ruined chassis sagged into the scorched earth, a monument to hubris and cold calculation undone by stubborn, bleeding humanity. The arena held its breath. Somewhere in the vast stands, a trill of bioluminescent antennae froze mid-waver. Even the rancid, sulfur-tinged air seemed to pause in stunned silence. Ellie Rain stood over the wreckage, chest heaving beneath her soot-streaked armor, the last whispers of volcanic heat kissing her skin like an old enemy's breath. Around her, the crowd, multitude of eyes, appendages, scales, and pseudopods, erupted into an uproar so wild it defied logic or language. Cheers, growls, and guttural roars blended into a singular cacophony that blasted through the arena's artificial atmosphere. "Silence!" boomed the arena announcer, his voice cracking under the weight of the moment. "Behold, the impossible has been achieved. The flesh has triumphed over the machine. Ellie Rains of Terra, Deathworld Zone, has rewritten the destiny of our galactic empire." Ellie barely registered the words. Her mind was already racing, not with victory's euphoria but with the cold calculus of consequences. This wasn't a simple fight one, it was a seismic tremor shaking the fragile edifice of interstellar politics. Backstage, the bureaucrats' panic was palpable. Holoscreens flickered with frantic data feeds and urgent communiques. The Empire's Council, a bloated gathering of species and corporate interests, convened emergency sessions. The phrase, "unexpected variables," echoed like a death knell. The Empire had long relied on synthetic soldiers, soulless, obedient, optimized. Robots didn't question orders. Robots didn't falter under fire. Robots didn't bleed or laugh through hellish landscapes. The Deathworlders, however, were a wild card, a virus in the grand design. Ellie's victory broadcasted instantly, a galactic disruption resonating across light years. News feeds buzzed with debates, memes, and conspiracy theories. Some heralded the human fighter as a symbol of raw resilience. Others decried her as a dangerous anomaly threatening the mechanical order. For Ellie, it was just another day. Her dry wit flared internally as she recalled the smug glances of Jaxer's handlers, the sneers of the wealthy gamblers who'd bet against her. They bet on machines, sure, because metal can't bleed. But metal can't think, either. Her own thoughts circled the deeper truth. Survival wasn't about technology or brute strength. It was about adaptability, heart, and the maddening, unyielding chaos of life itself. The post-fight debrief was merciless. Questions flooded her, attempts to decipher the human factor from cold data and statistics. Ellie answered with minimal words, her gaze steady and unflinching. "We underestimated the raw equation," she said once, voice low but unwavering. "You can't reduce a Deathworlder to a data point. We're chaos incarnate." Across the political spectrum, the Empire recalibrated strategies. Military divisions scrambled to review protocols. Robotics divisions fired off emergency patches and defensive upgrades. Diplomatic envoys scrambled to placate nervous allies. The Deathworlder victory disrupted the carefully choreographed hierarchy. Species that had long sneered at humanity now reconsidered the primitive warriors in their midst. Subtle shifts rippled through alliances, silent endorsements, veiled threats, re-evaluations of strength and weakness. Meanwhile, Ellie retreated to the shadows, the spotlight's glare too bright, the adulation too hollow. She preferred the quiet moments, those small, fleeting breaths between wars, where the weight of the galaxy felt momentarily less suffocating. A lone figure approached her, a veteran strategist from the human resistance underground. His eyes carried the weariness of endless battles and the spark of hope. "You've given us a weapon no algorithm can predict," he said quietly. "The Empire will chase your ghost for years." Ellie allowed herself a rare, wry smile. "Let them chase. I'm more interested in what we'll do when they finally catch up." As the fires of the arena cooled, the galaxy recalculated. The synthetic order had been challenged, not by another machine, but by the stubborn, laughing flame of a Deathworlder. The message was clear, searing through bureaucracy and propaganda. Humanity was not a relic to be auctioned off or sidelined. It was a force reborn, one that could walk through fire and laugh.